IVM.
If you like IVM likes, you should definitely check out another show from the IVM network called Geek Fruit. It's a show where three geeks, Tejas, Jishnu and Dinkar, talk about everything science fiction, adventure, fantasy, movies, TV shows, everything. So quench your thirst for geek conversation every week. Episodes out every Monday and Thursday on the IVM podcast app, the IVM website, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hello and welcome to another awesome week and another awesome episode of IVM Likes. It's not awesome today because
Welcome to an awesome week. It's not awesome.
It's a very sad day.
Yeah.
Because we're recording and we know that this is Abbas's last day.
Yeah.
And Abbas is the only one who's crying. We're just smiling away to glory.
Yeah, I think actually on the podcast we'll be a little sad. But know that off podcast everyone's celebrating.
Yes, but the voice that you just heard was Antariksh's voice, and you already know Abbas. You already are.
Last time.
But not for long.
Not for long. But fans of Abbas, he will keep coming back. Hopefully for IVM Likes, we will
Says
keep calling
who?
him. I will call you.
I'll come back.
Yes, please.
You can call me also anytime. Now I'm free.
I'm dreading the number of comments we get on YouTube. Hey, bring Abbas back. Where is Abbas?
Yeah, Antariksh sucks.
Hey guys. Oh, thanks. That has never been.
Just ask them to call me personally because now I'm free. I'll chat with them all day. I'll give them so many recommendations.
Oh, so you're saying we can post your phone number on
yeah,
YouTube?
sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
No problem.
Yes, done.
Okay, this is a challenge now. Antariksh, you will have to write Abbas's number in the description.
And when you call that number, it counts as a vote for the CAA. So yeah.
Yes. Whoa.
Yeah.
Great. So we like I said, this is like the episode where it's like a farewell episode, I think, for Abbas. But at the same time, in the first half, we're going to recommend some very cool things.
Yeah.
And in the second half, we're going to talk about various movies or TV shows which have like interlinking multiple narratives that probably connect somewhere. And let's start with...
It's more of a screenwriting workshop than a discussion.
Abbas is going to conduct the workshop and me and Antariksh are going to leave in the middle of the episode. So yes, Abbas, what is your recommendation?
Start with me.
Yes.
Since this is my last official episode, guys.
So it's also your last recommendation.
I'm going to recommend multiple things.
Okay.
I'm going to do a recommendation, a recommendation and all of that jazz.
Basically, you're going to break all the rules.
I'm going to do a recommendation inception and my recommendations within recommendations. I'll tell you
so
how.
Should we even be here?
I think we should just snooze off.
Yeah, exactly.
You all know Michael Douglas, right? The actor who played...
No, why don't you recommend him?
So his dad was a legendary actor as well called Kirk Douglas.
Yes.
Who at the time of recording, we're recording this on the 7th. Yesterday, he passed away at the age of 103.
Oh, damn.
Kirk Douglas was one of the greatest actors of his generation. So the film, my first recommendation would be... this classic film called Spartacus, which starred Kirk Douglas in the central role of Spartacus. It's a costume drama. It's shot in gorgeous Technicolor. It's from 1960. I think it was the second or third film that Stanley Kubrick directed.
Wow.
It was made back in the day where there was no CGI, so they used to make these humongous sets. They have recreated ancient Rome in the film. The film is about the revolt that the slaves did to oppose the Roman Empire, and it was led by this slave called Spartacus. Wow. It is an epic film. Its runtime is, I think, around 3 hours, 25 minutes or so. So it is a long film, but it's worth it. Every single frame, every single minute of the film is totally worth it. The film has a lot of screen legends. It's won a lot of Oscars. And Kirk Douglas's performance is absolutely brilliant. Like when the film starts, he's a downtrodden slave. And just to see how he encourages the slaves to come up and speak to authority is brilliant. Now, there's a second reason why I'm recommending this is because the time this film came out, it was a talk of the town because the screenplay for this film was written by a screenwriter called Dalton Trumbo. who was blacklisted during this era for being a communist, and there was a bunch of Hollywood writers and filmmakers who were called anti-nationals, who were supposedly linked to the communists in Russia, and they were blacklisted from making films.
But who told them to speak against the BJP at that point?
But this was the first film in a long while where Dalton Trumbo, where he got to work. He wrote a screenplay for this. So there's a lot of subliminal messaging about raising against a tyrannical government and getting to say what you want and getting to do what you want. So it's special for that reason as well. And now I want to seep into my recommendation.
Is it the TV series? How's the TV series, the Spartacus TV series?
Spartacus TV series, I've seen some of it, but the Spartacus TV series takes more inspiration from the film 300 than this film. Okay. It's done more as a visual spectacle. It's more pulpy.
Like this one, just by the way of describing it, sounds a little bit like Ben-Hur. Am I right?
It is very much like Ben-Hur. I think from 1955 to about 1960, there was a slew of ancient Rome films that Hollywood made, which were. But if you like Ben-Hur, then definitely watch Spartacus, because it's totally.
These Roman movies were their comic book movies.
Yeah, actually, that's not far from the truth. Spartacus though is more. Ben-Hur was more spectacle. Spartacus does have spectacle, but it's more about the zeal of the slaves who revolted against. It's more about that struggle.
Okay.
Sweet. So Dalton Trumbo, since I mentioned him, there's also a book written about Dalton Trumbo by the author Bruce Cook. So I would recommend the biography, and a movie was also made on this biography called Trumbo, where Bryan Cranston played Trumbo.
Okay.
And I think he was nominated for a Golden Globe or a Screenwriters Guild Award or something like that. So if you watch these, if you consume these things in like succession, you can learn a lot. So Dalton Trumbo and how he was blacklisted and how he actually struggled in Hollywood to get his name and his authenticity back, and how he sort of reciprocated that in the screenplay of Spartacus, a slave who pretty much did the same thing many years ago. So those three would be my recommendations: the film Spartacus, the book Dalton Trumbo by Bruce Cook, and the film simply called Trumbo, starring Bryan Cranston. And one mini recommendation I have is a podcast. So The Onion, you're both aware of The Onion, right? Which is this satirical website which does a parody of real life news. Now, if you read their news pieces, they're all humorous, but if you actually read their articles and all, they're still following like the tenets of journalism. Like it'll be written in a language that's very journalistically correct, but it's about fake, actual fake news. And
they don't have to be ethical enough.
So The Onion has a new podcast called The Topical. Okay,
where they discuss Onion articles?
Which is essentially all the serious podcasts that outlets like the New York Times have, or the Chicago Tribune have. They have like these daily podcasts which are very discussing the news of the day, right? So what they do is they actually do this. They take really ridiculous news and present it as if it's really serious. So for example, they had this episode, and it goes out daily, right? They had this podcast that there's been a hindrance in the Harvey Weinstein case because apparently, surprisingly, the judge has a role in a new movie, right? So they'll actually present it as if it's serious, like the Harvey Weinstein.
Do they get vulgar?
Not really, because it's supposed to be official. Like,
it's possible that the judge stayed the decision because, well, Harvey Weinstein gave him the role.
Exactly, that is what he insinuated. So they say that the judge is going to go on a leave in a completely unrelated news. The judge is going to star in this brand new movie, right?
With Miramax. Exactly.
So these are essentially, and there was this one hilarious episode which was like research shows that the person listening to this podcast, your life sucks. Yes, not the person sitting next to you, not me who's talking, but you specifically. Every decision you take is going to suck, right? So it's hilarious. They're like short 7 to 8 minute episodes. Even the ads that they do on the show are funny. Like they're genuine products, but they plug it really in a funny way.
And who are these people? They're the writers at Onion?
They're the writers at Onion, and they're the voiceover artists from around the world, but they're posing as journalists. And it's a fairly new podcast, so I think in the future they're actually going to get real actors playing out this fake.
How many episodes do you think are out right now?
So they've I think around 20-25 because they've recently just started the show.
Okay, wow.
So it's called The Topical. Check it out. It's a hilarious.
But did you
podcast.
say it was a weekly show? Or
It's a daily show.
It's a daily show.
They put out something every day, 7-8 minute episode.
Wow.
It's a spoof on all the daily real news podcasts that happen. But it's hilarious. It's really funny.
Love it.
So yeah, those would be my recommendations, guys.
Nice. What are those? 15 of them?
More or less.
Very cool.
Should we just finish the episode? Let's wrap it up
Thank
now.
you guys. Thanks for coming. This was fun.
So yes, Antariksh, what do you have to recommend?
Okay, and now I'm intimidated by Abbas's recommendation, so now I have to go 20, okay?
Yeah.
At the very least. I recommend this... So basically, Ben Stiller, the actor Ben Stiller, and the actor Owen Wilson have done a lot of movies together, right? And all of them are comedies that I can think of, at least. And all of them I love. So I would just recommend that the entire work that they've done together, all the movies they've been in. One of my favorites, though, like they've done Zoolander, they've done the Royal Tenenbaums they were in together, which is a great Wes Anderson movie, one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies. They've also done a movie called Starsky and Hutch. I don't know how many people know about this movie. It was a TV show
in the 70s.
With different actors, and then it got remade into a movie with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson as the lead character, that's Starsky and Hutch. And it's based in the late 70s, early 80s. It's during the disco era. And it's about a cocaine deal gone wrong. And these two cops, it's a buddy cop movie. So these two cops are trying to break down what's happening. And it's some really funny, really cool cameos in the movie also. The story is a basic buddy cop movie, but it's just that these two are in the movie because of Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller, and their chemistry together is what makes an awesome... Also a great threesome scene in the movie, if you're interested, with Carmen Electra. I forgot the other actor's name.
I have no memory of
Kim
this.
something. And
if there was a threesome, I remember those. But
yeah, and Owen Wilson has a threesome with 2 girls, man.
Okay.
So pretty great movie. Some great dancing scenes where Ben Stiller's character has a dance-off, has a disco dance-off with another guy at the club, and it is being hosted. The club, this match is being hosted by Patton Oswalt, the comedian.
Okay.
And another great scene is Vince Vaughn plays the villain. Jason Bateman is in the movie. Great star cast. Great scenes. I don't know. Yeah,
Snoop Dogg is also
Snoop Dogg it makes a great cameo, dude.
Will Ferrell, Snoop
cameo.
Dogg, Terry Crews is in the movie.
Yeah,
a lot of them.
Some very cool star cast of all the big wigs right now.
Yeah, I will revisit the threesome scene. It's been a while.
Nice. Yeah,
I think the only
Yeah.
thing that Abbas retained from that almost 10-minute description of that
Yeah.
movie
Yeah.
was
threesome.
I remember watching Starsky and Hutch. I mean, it's a decent movie. It's
correct. But wait,
it's a good...
finally Abbas has something to do after leaving IVM. Check out the threesome.
Guys, we're talking about Abbas watching a threesome.
Should I recommend a hot threesome scene? The season finale of Mrs. Fletcher, the HBO show, has an amazing threesome.
Oh, that's your 25th recommendation.
Great.
Do you think I want to recommend something?
Yes,
Yeah, please tell us.
I do. My recommendation is a very teeny tiny one compared to yours. It's a YouTube channel called Hungarian Folk Tales.
One question. Do they have a threesome?
No.
Oh, okay. Please
So Abbas is
continue.
not interested.
It's a channel that has various stories that they basically, it's like an animated, like episodes that are animated, stories which are animated, and I like that. I just discovered it a few hours before.
I think it's a reverse engineering process. You realize, oh shit, today there's a recording of likes and I don't have anything to recommend.
I'm just being honest.
Internet, please throw something at me.
Yeah,
And for some reason, Hungarian was there, so she was like, oh,
Wow, guys.
I'm hungry.
The hustle is real, guys.
I'm hungry, so let's. Okay, sorry.
That's really funny.
No, but honestly, this is precisely what happened, and I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
I was a little terrified. I'm like, oh shit, I don't have anything to recommend, and YouTube recommended it. And I'm like,
so it's not even our recommendation.
YouTube recommended.
Thanks to YouTube.
credits to YouTube.
Oh, that's all I have to write in the description.
Yeah, please write it in the description.
YouTube recommends.
But what's the quality of the animation? Like, is it
It's-
like high class animation, or is like एक चिड़िया अनेक चिड़ी like
थोड़ा सा एक चिड़िया एक ये बट थोड़ा हंगेरियन स्टाइल मतलब इंटरनेशनल क्वालिटी है उसको थोड़ी
इंटरनेशनल दूरदर्शन
इंटरनेशनल एक चिड़िया so I like it because I just watched like a few I think I watched like 5 stories.
Okay.
Hey, there are a lot more.
How long is
like it's from 6 to 10 or more minutes. Like 12 minutes probably is the maximum like stories that I watched. But there's a land of wolves, foxes, animals, princesses, princes, and I like it because again it's a combination of folk music, folk art, and folk stories.
Okay. I can't stop laughing. Like, admitted, I just discovered this 5 hours ago. And it is so awesome, guys.
It's true. Okay. It's true. I actually...
I'll take your word.
No, I spoke to Aliga after that because Aliga's like, I see you checking something out and I'm like, yeah, I just discovered it. Okay. So it was genuinely 2-3 hours. Okay. Like, not 3 hours, but 5 hours before.
Actually, now to think about it, it's possible that listeners listening to this only check out her recommendation. Because they're like, oh, really? Even she doesn't know anything about this. Let's see what it is. And,
I think it is.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's pretty. Certain things you just like just stumble upon.
But would it would it even entertain an adult watching it?
I think so because I mean if we're people who pick up children's stories sometimes, I mean it's something we're always looking out for things to make our inner child happy.
That's true.
It's okay. I'm just trying to make you defend a choice you made 5 hours ago.
I know. No, but I think it is something that people who are who watch like animated movies or Studio Ghibli movies would definitely like. It's not high quality animation, but I'm sure that if you like folk stories, you would definitely like it.
Okay.
So that's my recommendation. There's a YouTube channel called Hungarian Tales. The stories last from 6 to 12 minutes. And that's it.
Cool.
Very short and sweet.
Yeah.
Unlike you guys who spent like 30 minutes trying to recommend movies.
We knew what you wanted to recommend before 5 hours ago.
That burn. Okay. Great. So this was the first half of the episode, but let's have a recap of what we all recommended. Abbas, what did you recommend?
I recommended the film Spartacus, which is on Netflix. I think I didn't mention that. The film Spartacus, the book Dalton Trumbo, the movie based off it called Trumbo, and the podcast called The Topical from The Onion.
So this is a 1960s movie, right?
1960.
Yes, 1960, correct. Yeah. So is there any star cast still alive, you think?
There are. I mean, there's Alive.
Yeah. Mar to nahi gaye.
I actually think because it has Richard Harris, who played the first Dumbledore in the Harry Potter films. He's playing a young Roman. Okay, I mean, I know I'm going to be taking a lot of footage from this, but one thing that interesting about this is when it actually came out, there was some sort of same-sex relationship plot in this, which was actually deleted from the original film because back then it was considered too scandalous for the audience. But then on the re-release, it actually added it into the film. Essentially, how the slaves were even exploited for those matters. So that was put in back again in this Netflix version.
Very interesting.
But I think a lot of those Starcast must have started dying now because it's like a really old film.
Right?
It's 80 years old, man. It's like
God damn.
60 years old, sorry. My math is bad, guys.
It's fine, man.
So,
I think that makes all of us.
You
notice how neither of us called you out?
80 hoga. Great. So, Antariksh, what did you recommend?
I recommended the works of Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson together, but especially the movie Starsky and Hutch, which I really love. So, please, guys, watch it. Thank you.
Okay. I recommended a YouTube channel called Hungarian Folk Tales. You can check it out on YouTube, of course. Great. We will see you on the other side of this break.
Hey everybody, welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you are not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Want to thank our sponsors this week, HDFC Life and Paytm Money. If you have a brand and you think that podcasting would work well for you and your brand, then please do get in touch with you. We are always looking for new brands to bring on board. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam is joined by Archit Gupta, CEO and founder at ClearTax, to talk about investments, expenditure, and tax planning for FY 1920. On Advertising is Dead, Varun is joined by Harshil Karia, founder and managing director of Shebang, to talk about being a professional in the media space today. On Litnama, Lakshmi is joined by our producer and the host of Tapri Tales, Madhuri Advani, to discuss the art of storytelling and the nuances of her eccentric characters. Speaking of Tapri tales, this week Madhuri tells the story of 3 generations of women bound to each other not by blood but by dreams of building a roof together. On Agla Station Adulthood, Ritasha shares what's on her playlist and watch list. And on Mr. and Mrs. Binge Watch, Janice and Anirudh highlight the best and worst of the Oscars. On Storytellers and Storysellers, Vineet is joined by the man who manages Bhuvan Bam, Rohit Raj, and the head of TVF Play at the Viral Fever, Vinay Pillai, to talk about the growth of the online digital space. On Ganatantra, host Saryu and Alok are joined by Pranay Kotasthane to talk about fiscal federalism. On the Edges and Sledges cricket podcast, DJ Ashwin and Varun talk about India's first 2 losses in the ODI tournament against New Zealand. On IVM Likes is Abbas's last episode as an IVM staffer. Join him, Rutika and Antariksh as they talk about movies which have multiple plotlines that come together in the end. On our Kannada podcast, Thale Harate, space entrepreneur Narayan Prasad joins Pawan and Ganesh to shed light on SpaceX, to space tourism and satellite warfare. On Simplified, Chuck, Narayan, Tony and Shrike talk about anti-naxalism. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of IVM Likes.
No, it's the same one.
It's the
That
same
was
one.
before the break.
So it's the same episode, but you know that it's the farewell episode of Abbas.
Yeah.
And,
Which is a good excuse for Rutika to
great. So now we're talking about movies that have interlinked narratives, like multiple narratives that somewhere link.
And TV shows.
And TV shows,
Yes,
of course. Pop culture. Great. So, anything that you guys can think of that we can start off with?
I can think of a very recent one, which neither of you have seen though.
Okay.
But The Witcher kind of
Yeah,
has
I
this.
haven't seen The Witcher.
I know you guys don't know this, but on the Witcher TV show, Geralt, that is the Henry Cavill's character's arc, and there's a character called Ciri. Their arcs are like completely different, and only at the end of the season, because they are trying to come together, but the things they're going about doing are completely different and unrelated. And yeah, when they come together in the end. So I think, does that apply? Is what I'm
Okay,
thinking?
so I'll very quickly explain what
please.
I might be a little
confused.
confused with this.
So the idea being that when you're introduced to the characters and their plot lines,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like they are related in any way.
Exactly.
But at some point in the story, their paths will cross each other, or they will do something that will affect the other person's plot in the movie. Something along those lines. A good example that I can think of is the movie Pulp Fiction. Right?
Yes, that is absolutely.
It's separated into various segments, but characters from one segment show up in the other segment, and something that someone does in the third segment is a callback to something that happened in the first segment. So stuff like that, or a film like go ahead.
Do you have a favorite segment in Pulp
In
Fiction?
Pulp Fiction, I would say it would be the very first one.
The very first one?
The very first one,
Nice,
where
very
Jules
good.
and Vincent are driving around in a car,
That's
and
great.
they go to shoot a poor guy.
And just to add to what Abbas said, that when you watch it, you don't feel like that one person that is in the beginning of the film is the central character.
Right.
So the characters, all 4 characters could be the central characters of the same
Yes,
film.
yeah.
So my bad, The Witcher doesn't apply, but Pulp Fiction definitely
Cancel.
does.
Richard cancel.
One of my favorite scenes is again 2 scenes. One is the one that comes right after the scene you just mentioned.
In Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, with Wallace, with Marcellus Wallace and Bruce Willis.
Right.
And when Wallace is going, I think you're going to find.
Can you pause for a second? Antariksh, there's the hair standing on your head, which is very funny. I can't stop laughing.
Okay. So why are we stopping this? We should all be in this thing. We'll post a photo, guys. We'll post a photo.
Yeah, please.
Okay, keep this in, engineer.
Let's click this. Can somebody
Anyway,
click this?
he's
I've readjusted it now.
Yeah,
you'll lose us.
so
Okay.
you're talking about the Pulp Fiction scene.
So yeah, the Pulp Fiction scene with Marcellus and Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And in Marcellus's club.
Right.
And the second scene is the Christopher Walken scene.
Yes.
Done with this watch.
Yeah.
I had it up my ass. For 2 years, I had it up my ass. I
Cool.
it was great, yeah.
Rutika, what do you think of when you think of multiple narratives?
One movie that I watched very recently, all thanks to your recommendation.
Stop it.
इसीलिए ये farewell episode है, क्योंकि अभी अब्बास की वावा हो रही है. Is Super Deluxe. I think it actually starts off with like this 3 different boys who are trying to watch a porn film. Okay, there is this wife who is really bored out of her wits because the husband is not giving her any kind of attention, and then there is another third story. So, but there are these 2 to 3.
Is the husband not giving her attention because he's busy watching porn?
The boys are watching Pulp.
Oh, they're
trying to watch.
Trying to watch.
That's the
Different
point of multiple.
I don't know. You shouldn't explain it. I don't know.
Oh my God! Now you're blaming
No,
me.
I'm not. I'm saying that the way you explained it seemed to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are these different characters, okay, and eventually they all come together in a very, I think they come together in a very fluid way. And I think that's the art of this theme, that when you have all these characters in 3 different situations, how do you bring them together? What is that point? And maybe it's just not one point. It could be multiple points where they cross each other.
Right.
And that's again a very fascinating thing to observe. And Super Deluxe again does that really well.
That's true.
But it did zap me, that alien scene that happened where...
spoilers, guys, spoilers. If you haven't seen Super Deluxe, sorry for spoiling.
Oh, there's an
Sorry
alien
for
scene?
spoiling.
Yeah, spoilers for spoiling it again, guys.
He's reinforcing
Watch
it.
the film, it's on Netflix.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, one of the tricks even in comedy, which is used very effectively and almost always works, is the callback.
Yeah.
Which is you do a joke about something, you move on, you do some other jokes about some other things, and as you're bringing the show to a close, you bring back the punchline from the first joke to apply it to the last joke. And there is something very impressive to the audience about connecting the dots if it's well done, which is what I think Super Deluxe does. I instantly also thought of the film Life in a Metro, which came out in the late 2000s, starring Shilpa Shetty and Sharman Joshi and
Irfan Khan,
Konkona Sen, a lot of good star cast.
Yeah.
That was
Also,
a good example of...
I'll tell you a story about Life in a Metro.
Yeah.
This was I was in school, talking about last, right? This is Abbas' last episode. As my last, I was in school, I was always on stage, okay? Like always doing the elocutions and plays and whatever, recitations of stuff. And,
were there people in the audience?
Yeah. They left midway during my performance, but no. Anyway, so as my last performance in my 10th standard of school, in boarding school 10th standard, I sang In Dino Din Mera Dil Mera Mujhse Keh Raha, and I sucked.
I am not surprised.
Yeah, because you can imagine like that. That's such a high pitch. The entire song in like Ino Dino.
You're singing it well right now.
Right now. On stage I didn't. And I started off with a cracked voice. Like it's just terrible throughout. So yeah. Great memories with
would you like to sing it again for us?
I can. I think we'll get copyright infringement.
Let's not go there. It's my last episode. But yeah, stuff like Sharman Joshi in the film is giving his bachelor pad for couples to come and do their business. Yeah. And then he gives it to his boss, and he finds out the boss actually takes a girl which he likes. So
he's running an Oyo room.
and the Konkona Sen character is actually the sister of this girl. So she has her own narrative. So that was a really good culmination there.
Again, bringing it back to Super Deluxe, here they're not even directly related. That's again a very fascinating part because it's very easy to have 2 characters or 3 characters that are related to each other. But actually to bring it to a point where all 3 of them connect without even being related in any way, even in a kind of friendship or whatever, that again is another kind of skill.
Okay.
So that's, sorry, getting back to your...
No, I would like to also speak about this other film, which came out in 1989. It's called Do the Right Thing. It's Spike Lee's first film.
Okay.
Spike Lee's a very celebrated African-American director. So how this film is designed is that it shows you a neighborhood in Brooklyn, which is made up of mostly African Americans and immigrants from various parts of the world who are now in America. So there's a general store which is run by an Asian couple. There is a pizzeria which is run by an Italian guy. And the predominant population in this neighborhood is African American. What the film does is that when it starts off, it tells you how these people are very tolerant of each other, they're appreciating each other, and how, because of one incident, as the film unfolds, because of the seeds of hatred that are planted, they all start hating each other, and it reaches a boil by the end of the film. And the good thing about the film was that you actually saw everyone's point of view of why they would hate the other, right? And the film, very famously, it ended with a quote from Martin Luther King, which asked people to be accepting of others, and of Malcolm X, who said that if we are provoked, we shall strike back, right? So it was almost like Spike Lee was saying, now it's up to the audience to decide which version or which point of view you agree with. So that's all. Do the Right Thing, by the way, the very first movie that Barack and Michelle Obama saw together. It was their first date movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about creepy behavior. How do you know this?
It wasn't creepy. It was a
Did
consensual.
you know?
No, because Obama spoke about it. So yeah.
Did you just do a habit coach reference?
Sorry.
Did you know this was
Obama and Michelle Obama's first date movie.
Obama and Michelle Obama.
Great.
Okay.
So,
I have 3 movies which are clubbed together, which will the 3 Guy Ritchie gangster movies.
Okay.
That is Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, and Rock and Roller.
I've only seen Snatch of the 3.
Okay, great. All 3 of them are just basically too many storylines, too many characters,
Right.
and they all build up together this crescendo of an ending. And since you've seen Snatch,
Yeah.
great characters.
Really great.
Brad Pitt is in it. Playing a bare knuckle boxer you cannot understand.
Yeah, if you're watching a Guy Ritchie film, you'll have to turn on the subtitles, even though they're
Yeah,
talking
correct.
in English. Yeah.
But part of even if you watch it without subtitles, part of Brad Pitt's character is that you
the
can't
fact that you
understand
can't
him anyway.
understand him. Yeah.
So that makes it even funnier in a way.
Yeah.
It's really funny. Jason Statham is in it. This Jason Statham's Snatch was his second role ever.
Yeah.
First ever acting role was Guy Ritchie's previous movie. Again, it was Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
But did he go on a date with Obama?
Nobody went on a date.
Michelle did.
Michelle did.
Michelle did.
Come on. How can you forget?
The Obamas went with each other.
Yeah.
Yes. So Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
Do you know Michelle's name before she was Obama?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask, do you know Michelle's husband?
Yeah.
No, what was her name before?
I'm actually Googling this
Yeah,
right
all
now.
of us are Googling it. I have no idea.
She was...
She was just
Take
Michelle.
a guess. What do you think her last name was before she was an Obama?
Not Obama.
What about you?
Obama less. Michelle Obama less.
Stevenson.
It's actually... Oh, you're close actually.
What?
Yeah, I'll give you one more
That's
chance.
a wild guess.
Stevens.
The second part of it is correct.
Son.
Yeah. No?
Jensen.
No, it was Robinson.
So close. Okay, that was genuinely a wild guess. I just asked because, we know all these people.
Yeah.
We know them as the wives
Yeah.
of personalities who are famous, but we
That's
don't know who they were.
Who they were.
Yeah.
And she is a very fascinating personality.
Yeah, but she
You
became
were
someone only.
talking about...
But she became like someone only after marriage. If you think
No,
about it.
That's not true.
Okay, one second. Can I just, today morning Rutika was asking us about Bill Burr.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend you check out Bill Burr's set about Michelle Obama.
Oh,
it
yes.
may not
I
be up
love-
to your liking,
That
but it
the
is very
best.
funny.
Yeah,
Okay.
very,
And
very,
he
very
actually
funny.
did it when he was here in Bombay. Do keep in mind this was before Trump was elected, so there was a possibility that there will be a female president of the United States.
And there were
it's
rumors
very
that
funny.
Michelle Obama might run.
Yeah.
Yeah, might run.
Okay.
Anyway, so what else, guys? What else?
Anyway, talking about Lock, Stock,
Yeah.
by extension, there's also a Hindi movie, Fir Hera Feri,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
which is exactly the same
It's
plot
a copy
as the copy. It's a rip-off of Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels,
Yeah.
which is also multiple narratives. And Rock and Roller, the third Guy Ritchie movie, has Gerard Butler, Tom Hardy, Idris Elba,
Yeah.
Mark Strong. What a star! Thandie Newton.
Right.
What a star cast. And again, great.
Yeah, this film
great
was a
movie.
big deal when it came out because Guy Ritchie had married Madonna during this time. So
Really? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And also, what happened after Rock and Roller is at the end of Rock and Roller, there is a sequel. Like
are you spoiling it again?
No.
Okay.
No.
Right.
There's a card that comes, like a title card that comes, like credits card, which says these guys will be back in the next movie, the real Rock and Roller. The movie never got made because every single actor in that movie became a superstar. So it's impossible for budgets to ever get them again.
Right.
Just never not happening. So
Okay.
yeah.
I would very quickly mention a TV show which I think fits very well into this category. The pilot of Modern Family. They individually introduce us to the separate families. They never tell us that they are related. And it only comes together in the last 2 minutes when Mitch and Cam have adopted a baby from another country and they're doing a baby shower.
Yeah.
And it's at the baby shower that the rest of the people we've seen in the show come as guests. And that's when we realize, oh shit, it's actually the one big family. They're the same family. So it's very meticulously done.
You're a huge fan of Modern Family, right?
I was a huge fan, yeah. First 5 seasons, I think, are
Very
brilliant
good.
comedy writing.
I know.
Last 2-3 seasons, they've kind of become a one-trick pony. They have
Like recently, someone just died on Modern Family.
really?
Phil's dad died. Sorry,
Oh,
spoiler
okay.
alert.
No, I mean, yeah.
एक काम करते हैं ना, नेक्स्ट टाइम IVM का इसमें डिस्क्रिप्शन
IVM
देते हैं. Antariksh shall give spoilers and will take too long to explain
Why?
recommendations.
Why am I getting
spoils. You spoiled super deluxe.
You started it. Yeah.
I did. I started the trend, I admit.
No.
But now that the show is ending, it's in its final season. I'm planning to catch up on the rest of the seasons. Also, Lost. It's a show with a huge
Another Lost reference of us.
I'm sorry, it's my favorite show.
Yeah,
But the kind of actually the thing is, in Lost, it's not done very well because the writers have admitted that they were making it up as they went along.
Wow, guys, record broken. First time Abbas said anything negative about Lost. That has never happened.
So there's some later callbacks and multiple storylines seem a bit forced. They're like, what if we shove this person in that storyline?
Nice.
So it's done on Lost, but not very well. Also, do you guys have anything more to add?
Yeah, I have. There are these American romantic movies like
Yeah.
Valentine's Day.
Love Actually.
Yes. These are like multiple storylines.
It's
They're all
true.
related around love.
Yeah.
Where one man sleeps with multiple women and they're like, oh my god, we are meant for each other.
It's Love Actually.
And then all of them realize they're in love with each other and not the man.
Correct. Yeah.
That'll be a very interesting
Ooh,
story.
nice. And then do they... Never mind.
यार ये threesome मतलब
There is-
threesome पे ही अटका है अभी तक.
There is?
There is this one anime
Yeah.
that I really want to talk about.
Not into hentai, sorry.
I've recommended the anime on.
Is there a
likes, episode
threesome
likes.
in the anime for Abbas?
No, sorry.
I told you I'm not into hentai, so... Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe when the live action comes out,
Adaptation.
but no, there's no threesome. Bakano is the
I
anime.
think you have
I have
spoken
recommended.
about
I've
this before,
recommended Bakano on a thing. It's basically I call Bakano a Guy Ritchie movie
Anime.
meets an Edgar Wright movie on steroids.
Ooh, wow.
Is what I always call anime.
Okay.
Bakano. It's only 16 episodes, and there are immortals involved. It takes place during Prohibition era New York. So it's a Japanese anime based in New York, which doesn't usually happen.
Right.
Most of them are around Tokyo
in
and Japan and whatever.
yeah.
And so this one's based in New York, Prohibition era. And so there are mafiosos involved, mafias involved. There is punk kids involved. There are a group of immortals involved. So the supernatural elements also. It all takes place. So basically, the whole series revolves around the Virgin train journey of this train called the Flying Pussyfoot.
Okay.
Don't believe that, okay? That's the name of the train. You can't.
I just have to say this. I am very visual.
Okay. So you're imagining a flying pussyfoot?
Yes.
Okay, that needs to be bleeped. But yeah, this is one of the finest anime you will ever come across. Very highly rated, and your minds will be blown by the end of it. You laughed.
Like the flying
That's not
pussyfoot.
like it's like the flying pussyfoot.
Alright, a few more titles I'd like to add. The film Crash, which won the Best Picture Oscar in 2006. Don't think it has aged very well because...
You said you don't think it has AIDS very well?
It hasn't aged very well. So yeah, check it out if you like. Back then I was very impressed with it, but off late when I saw it wasn't much. Films by Spanish films actually, which are really good in this. Amores Perros and 21 Grams.
Oh, you're talking about foreign movies. There's a Brazilian movie called City of God.
City of God, yeah.
Have either of you seen this?
I haven't seen. I've heard a lot
Okay,
about it.
I saw it first time in college, and till date, I feel it is one of the finest movies I've seen.
Okay.
And it's about these two kids who grow up basically in the same area, but they have different upbringings. Even though they both come from downtrodden backgrounds, like neither of them are from well-off families or something. They're all among the poorest of the poor. And so City of God is actually a place in Rio de Janeiro.
Okay.
It is one of the poorest places with the highest levels of crime. And so this movie revolves around these two kids who grew up in that area. One had two different lives. one of them grows up to be trying to live like an honestish life, becoming a photographer and a journalist, and the other one joins the crime happening there,
Right.
and becomes like a drug dealer, a drug kingpin of the area, and how their two lives meet again towards the end of the movie. It's great,
Cool.
great. Please,
I'd like to
one
mention,
more adding to this, not because international movie, but in an Indian movie, Masan.
Yeah, Masan is also a good example of this.
And maybe I'm sure we'll need more time for Ship of Theseus.
Yes,
But,
that's also a good example. Though.
yes,
yeah,
yes.
very good example actually.
Yes. But both of these movies I think will really fit into
The multiple narrative.
Yeah, and especially Masan, because I feel like Masan also. I feel like it also brought like a whole new. I mean, it was somewhere in the middle of indie and mainstream.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I feel
I consider it pretty much indie.
you consider it indie.
Why would you say it's mainstream?
Because it
because of the actors involved.
no, also the actors, but also the kind of popularity that it gained. I feel like it did fall into the, like every other person was talking about it.
I would classify it as an indie film that became popular.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe I would put it across like that it was an indie film that became quite popular.
Yeah.
And
Dude, I was just slightly unrelated, but someone was just mentioning this the other day, or I think I heard it on Geek Fruit.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, the first Iron Man movie, the one with Robert Downey Jr., was an indie film. Because at the time, Marvel had just, it wasn't a studio. There was like something they're trying. They're self-financing for the first time.
Right.
But it was still bought over by Disney. It was a risky film, I would say, but it wasn't an indie film. You know what was an indie film?
What?
The very first Star Wars, the 1977 film.
Oh,
George Lucas actually
LucasArts,
had to pretty much, like he's called it, and even Mark Hamill has called it the biggest budget indie that we've ever made. So, I mean, the special effects were all practical effects.
Correct,
There was very...
with miniatures,
Yeah, so the first Star Wars movie was an indie movie in every sense of the word.
That's true. I didn't think of the Disney link, but you're right, yeah.
I would quickly throw in, back to the topic, one book called Lunatic in My Head by Anjum Hassan.
Okay.
These are stories of characters in the Northeast, and it's very well written. Again, the one, as far I read this book quite a long time ago, but one of the characters is a teenage boy, one is a college professor, and there's a third and a fourth character as well. They're all different ages, different backgrounds, but again, their lives intersperse at various points. And have either of you seen or read read Cloud Atlas?
It's on my list. I still haven't read it.
I've heard of it.
So
I haven't.
Cloud Atlas, it's very hard to explain it in words. The movie doesn't do justice to the book, but they try as best as they can. The concept of space and time in the story is very fragile. So there are things actually happening hundreds of years in the future and in the past which are affecting the present. So, but it's multiple arcs, and to make it interesting, what they did in the film is they cast the same actors for multiple roles. So in one, Tom Hanks is playing a Stone Age caveman, but he's also playing a club owner in the future. So that got a little confused in the movie, but I would still recommend watch the film and read the book. It is also multiple narratives, but it's very hard to explain. It's across space and time.
Okay, again, adding to this list, there is this film called Solo. It's from the south.
Not a Han Solo.
I was going to say Solo. Oh, Dulquer Salman.
Salman.
I remember this because this came out like a few months before the actual Han Solo movie, and someone photoshopped Harrison Ford's face onto Dulquer Salman.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It said Solo.
hilarious.
But please go ahead.
Yeah, so basically it's directed by Bijoy Nambiar.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Shaitan guy.
Yeah, the Shaitan guy. But
as in not the devil. He made a movie called Shaitan.
the only common...
Would you call Anurag Kashyap the ugly guy?
The only common thread between actually all like multiple stories is Dulquer Salman. He's playing different roles,
Achha.
but the story and the arc of each character and the kind of I mean, it's not like probably a movie like I'm giving another reference, but it doesn't really fit into this category called I Am is. I Am. It's by Onir. Okay, and it's all about fear. Okay, but this movie does not even have a common theme.
Okay.
It has various narratives, but the common thing between all these narratives is
Dil Ke Salman.
yes. And I genuinely watched it only because of DQ.
Ooh, DQ
DS,
and all. Disqualified.
Yes. He's my heartthrob, guys.
One final movie on my list is a movie called Vantage Point. Let me just start off by saying it is not like highly rated.
Yeah.
But it is a movie that I have only ever seen once and I loved it. Just because of how unique it was. It basically revolves around so the President of the United States has come to this area to make some ceremonial speech or something. And this is not spoilers. This happens in the very beginning of the movie. He gets shot.
Yes.
The president gets shot. And at the same time, another bomb blast happens at the other end of the ceremony. Okay, so there are like two incidents now which have gone down at this one gathering. Okay,
Right.
And so this movie now follows first a CIA agent from his perspective what happened. Okay, so like wherever he was at the ceremony, it starts off from there at whatever, like 12 noon is the time that they all start with. Okay, so 12 noon. What he's seeing for the next, say, for 30 minutes. Okay, so like he goes after this guy who he thinks is the sniper who killed the president. Then he catches that guy and something else happens and something else happens. And then they rewind and they go to the next character in line. Say a photographer.
Right.
Okay, just taking random photos of people gathered at this event, and they see everything from his point of view. Okay, so then this is crazy things happen. Then they go to a woman who was just like a bystander,
Right.
and they go to someone else like a soldier who is there.
But does the film not get repetitive after a while then, if they're watching the same events, even from different points of view?
It kind of does, but for the most part, they keep it fresh.
Okay.
Like, because this guy sees something different, something more
Right.
than the other guy saw, than the first guy saw. And not often, like, if, say, supposing in the CIA agents during his 30 minutes ka time, during maybe he saw like these three things happen. It's possible that in the next guy's thing they mention only the one thing,
Okay.
and two other things that it's completely different to move the story forward. So I really like the movie, but it's not highly rated. So
We should actually do an
this is
episode
the-
about low-rated films that we actually like.
Yeah,
That's
that's
true.
actually
That's a
a
great
great
idea.
But I'm not
idea.
going to be around for that.
We will call you for it. Don't worry. You will be the featured guest.
You'll be Skyped in.
No, sorry. Just to change what I was saying, I don't think I said it right. When I said that there's no common theme to Solo, it actually
Oh, he's still thinking about DQ.
can't help it. If you're thinking about threesomes, I will think of DQ. But
Hey, if he's playing multiple roles, there can be a threesome between DQ and DQ and DQ. A DQ sum, if you will.
Can I be in the middle of it?
If you say
Ew.
if you say DQ too many times, it sounds like Dicky.
Dicky, yeah. DQ. But yes, please make your defense of Solo.
No, I'm not making any defenses. I'm saying that the common theme, more than the common theme, the one thing that binds all the stories together is that those stories represent elements of Earth.
Oh.
So there's water, there's fire, there's various emotions.
Yeah. And if you put them together, Captain Planet appears.
maybe
And played by DQ.
Or he becomes Avatar the Last Airbender. Yes, my Avatar reference.
Or
people.
Captain Planet joins the threesome and
Okay, I think we've had too much on this episode. Let's wrap it up. Should I
Yes.
wrap it up one last time?
Yes,
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, guys.
please. Okay,
that
first
was,
let's get our tears
टिश्यू
rolling.
किधर है? टिश्यू लेके आओ. मेरे को नहीं करना
Do a few
है.
snippets
That was our episode, guys. This will be my last episode for the foreseeable future. I might return. I don't know.
Please return.
But you can follow us on IVM
Please come back and
Podcast.
work at
Returns
IVM
of the
at
Abbas.
some point of us.
Guys, let me plug everything peacefully. You can follow us on. You can follow IVM Podcast at IVM Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We've been jazzing up our social media pages, so please check them out.
Yeah.
You can follow me personally on my Twitter handle. My handle is at Abbas Momin. If you want to find out what I'm doing once I'm jobless, please follow me there. I'm also Abbas Momin88 on Instagram. Rutika, where can one find you?
Abbas, you've created a sense of mystery now.
Why?
When you
Oh.
said, now if you want to find out what I'm doing, post this.
Yes.
Great. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is That Girl Inside the Library. Please send me a message that you're an IVM likes listener, because I don't accept random requests. Antariksh.
You can follow me on Instagram at Antariksh T and on Twitter at Antariksh Tak. That's a TAK at the end of Antariksh.
Cool.
And I just want to say, dude, Abbas, we love you.
Oh man,
And thanks for everything. You're such an awesome. You've been an awesome.
Yeah, I think
awesome senior producer.
Let's. I also want to say that I think I've learned a lot from Abbas. I think Netflix ke every day I have something that I add to my watch list, all thanks to Abbas.
Yeah.
And even books, I think me and Abbas actually bonded over books.
Okay, cool.
So I think that's another thing that I feel.
Abbas got me this job.
Mic drop.
Abbas got me this job too.
So we won't hate
if you want a job at IVM, you know where to hit me.
You're too late.
No, but before I wrap up, thanks for everyone who's sent me a message, or left comments on our episode pages recommending me or asking for me. Thank you so much. I'll see you around somewhere sometime. Thank you so much for everything.
Please come and watch Abbas and I live at comedy shows.
Yes, guys.
Also,
I'll be 1 second, Rutika. I'll be since I'm jobless now. I'll be posting a lot more about my stand-up gigs.
Yeah.
So please come watch me and Antariksh and
Rutika
is doing improv nowadays. So check out her.
Yeah,
improv
I will soon keep giving you updates on my shows. But you can also check out Abbas on Tinder, guys.
Yes, guys. Please
hit him up.
Hey, I'm also on Tinder. Rutika, plug me.
Is this your last episode?
Antariksh, I am not going to give you a pity shout out. Okay, Abbas is getting a pity shout out.
So pity shout.
Please.
Thanks for believing in me, Rutika.
Okay, that's it from us, guys. We shall see you. Not we, but Antariksh and Rutika will see you next week. Till then, bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Do you wish you were smarter? Well, so do we. But the next best thing?
We could make you sound smarter.
And to help you with this endeavor, we are Simplified, a podcast that attempts to break down the complex world around you with a little knowledge, a lot of poor jokes, and a ton of random trivia.
Episodes out every Monday.
On the IVM podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
See ya!
Hey, this is Shidaditya.
And I'm Amit Doshi.
And we host Shunya One.
It's a really fun podcast where we talk to some of the best entrepreneurs in the country.
Yes, talking about everything from their startup challenges to what they're building and all the future of technologies right here.
So catch us on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you listen to your podcast from.